present. We have select board members Chuck Hart, Kevin St. James, myself, Chris Bashaw, and Glenn Koppelman, as well as our administrative office coordinator, Susan Ayer. We're gonna, let's see, we don't have any appointments today. Do we have any public comment? Oh, that's right, we do have. Yeah.
So, what we've got is hopefully a temporary position for the health department to take over for Rich, and why don't Dave, why don't you come up? Jeff?
So folks understand what we have a vacancy as the health officer. Justin Nesbitt is our code enforcement officer. He serves as the deputy health officer. So what we're looking for is for some assistance in an interim. We've reached out to Mr. Fields to see if he is interested. He has some experience in handling this role. So we were looking to appoint him as the interim health officer while we figure out what we were going to do long term. And should we go to a position where we're going to appoint that full time, we would do a posting to make it available to anyone that was interested. But in the interim, he had expressed an interest in assisting us to make sure we can handle any cases that are pending and make sure things are cleaned up. So if you don't mind taking a moment to introduce yourself.
My name is Dave Field. I'm the plumbing mechanical inspector across Kingston right now. I'm also across that.
Okay. So he obviously has some experience doing this. I know we had kind of discussed this, seeing if he was available to assist us with this. So we'd like to offer him the interim position of health officer. Paula, did you have a chance to calculate what how we were paying that? Previously, it was getting paid out at an hourly rate for actual time worked. Is that correct?
Not actual time, it's, like how you get paid out for, like the plumbing inspecting, it's like a certain amount per inspection. Job they went to, or whatever.
Per inspection.
Per inspection, okay. Yeah. So does the board have any issues if we were to offer it at just the same terms that it was being offered to the previous health officer during this interim period?
I don't have the issue, but I have a question of, are there any specific qualifications that Mr. Field needs to have? And if so, does it happen?
Well, as it turns out, one of the reasons that we were talking to him about it and asking the same question, he obviously is a plumbing and heating in both past outlet here. He has also installed septic systems on his own. He has also been an acting health inspector in Plastow. So, I mean, as far as being a temporary, but that's...
So I guess, just when you got your deputy health officer certificate, was there a certification that you had to obtain? I mean, I know there's, I'm pretty sure there's something, I don't know how extensive it is.
Basically an online course that I took.
Okay.
To pass the deputy.
So I guess, can we just verify that, you know, are you able to provide that certificate to us, or would you be willing to obtain that certificate to facilitate that in the town? Okay.
Yeah, it has to go up to the state. The state has to actually approve it, what it does, and where it is temporary, we need somebody to cover. You know, so that we may accept his background temporarily, but we may have to do another one, but in the interim, you know, we'll be able to step in and get started, or we having to wait any period of time.
So, I mean, not to belabor this, but I guess just the state does need to somehow authorize and bless this.
But it has to be, we have to appoint him, and then the state approves when the state certifies him. That's not the physical work.
Okay.
And it's contingent until the approval of the court.
So it would be conditional contingent on receiving that certification or approval from the state?
Approval from the state.
Yeah. I mean, I would think so, because I couldn't imagine that official work could be done without having.
Yeah, normally the state wants you to notify them of any changes in your health officer well in advance, and obviously we didn't have the opportunity to do that in this situation. But we'll make sure that we do everything we can to expedite it through the state. So if there's no more discussion, I would entertain a motion to appoint David Field as our interim health officer under the same terms as the previous existing health officer. And one of the conditions is that he get through the certification process and appointment procedure through the state.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Is there any time frame that you want to attach to that as far as getting that condition done?
Do we have any idea? I don't know how long this takes.
We said you have it, right?
No, I don't have notification, no.
But there's a time, so it's 9 months or a year or something, there's not a.
I think the state, they appoint the person, then they set a time frame on the time that they need to complete it within. Okay.
It might say right on the form, on the top.
Chris, is that stuff I sent you from the state?
It is the health officer and or deputy nomination form. It's the required to complete a 3-hour training course within the first year of their appointment. Okay.
And so, always in 2 months, we may be sitting down and saying, okay, we need to either have them do it full-time, part-time, or, add it back in person, and so it was just a matter of not having, things that are not there that need to be done, just sit there waiting for an interim, and, so it comes in,
So if for some reason the interim turns into more than a year, we would just ask that you complete that certification within that time period.
That's fine.
Comply with the state.
And so Jess will remain the deputy health officer, correct?
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
He says it's on file.
Yeah, it should be on file because he's already on the line, so we should ask that, so we need to recertify that. All right, public comment number 1. Mr. Doyle.
Good evening, gentlemen. And welcome to 6 Main Street. So, I'm trying to find out if you received any results back yet from your water testing that you guys have been doing.
We got the tests, we're waiting for the full report with recommendations, which should be within a couple of weeks, I think she said last week.
Yeah, we did, and that was from Samuel and Hen, that they indicated they had the results and they were preparing their report for the town. So we still
have the numbers, you have the results, correct?
did they give us the raw results, or
I
they
think
say?
they gave us
Okay.
the raw, I can send that to you if you want it.
Okay, definitely.
It's just
Because everything has to be reported back to the state by April 30th on your behalf.
Right, that's the full report, has to be done to them, I think that was the 30th.
Right.
But, so she's preparing that.
Okay, I'll stop by tomorrow and
Okey-doke.
look at those.
Okay.
I also went down to the town shed and requested another trash bin. I don't know if they got word on that or not. I brought in pictures of my shipment of water that I get every time, and this is ridiculous. This truly is ridiculous. This takes up a whole bay in my garage, okay? And the reason why I'm asking for another trash bin is this is what my trash looks like on recycling day. It's blowing all over the neighborhood because there's so much of it. So I'm officially requesting a third bin at no cost to me for all this recycling.
So that'd be, you were requesting another recycling bin, correct?
So that would be 3 on my front property. The one that I have, obviously, with the 2 addition.
I have no issues with that.
I think it's like there.
Yeah,
If he needs 4, I'll give you 4. I mean,
so I'd take it as a motion if anyone wants to move that we grant him an additional recycling.
I make a motion that we allow President Dan Doyle as what he needs for recycling bins.
Whether that be 3 or if you end up needing more, just that way we don't have to come back here again.
yeah, well, I just don't want to burn around town.
I don't blame you.
I second.
Further discussion?
If you break it down in boxes, that will help consolidate, put some of the stuff in there.
Well, I am breaking them down, and that's that crushed plastic in the boxes.
Yes, but the boxes aren't broken down in that picture there.
But there's crushed plastic in the boxes. I can't break down anything more than I'm already breaking down.
I mean, based off of the volume of stuff you're getting, it's only reasonable that you're having that much.
Yeah, I'll do these pictures for you guys to study and look at, because this is what I gotta do on a daily basis. You know, I gotta have my kids run out and grab water whenever they want water for a coffee maker or whatever it is, you know. Now, in the warm weather, it's not a huge issue, but in the winter time, it's terrible because the stuff is freezing in my barn. So, other than that, I've just been talking with some other homeowners that are plagued by the same issue here, and we're forming a group, so we got to take care of this as town leaders. We need to do something. We need to do something quickly on this.
Yeah, and
This isn't good for our kids at all. I mean, it's a carcinogen, and it's, you know, and the state recognizes that you guys, this town, not you guys, contaminate the water system. So it doesn't matter who or when or whatever, but it's contaminated due to the town. So we need to do something on this right away. So I'm very anxious to see the results of the testing.
As I've said, if I was in your position, I'd be very upset, but we've been advised to wait till this report comes in and then, you know, take appropriate measures once we have that information from Sanborn Head.
So let me ask you this, just out of curiosity, how long is it gonna take you to make a decision after you get this report?
You can't make a statement like that without knowing what the report contains.
Yeah, well, in the state size, there's only two permanent solutions. It's either piping in the water from local town, Exeter being the closest. The last hydrant is on Pickpocket Road there. At $1.5 million per mile. There's money right now with the state. I've already talked to the state, so the money's here. Town of Kingston's just got to ask for it and put in a grant for it. And it's going to disappear soon. And when it does, then, you know, we're kind of up the creek there unless you do some type of water filtration system within our homes. So, I'll leave these with you. You can throw them out or whatever.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
James, there was a meeting at 4 o'clock, and I'd just like to say, I understand the letter that was read there, and the letter that the selectman wrote. I said some things that are inappropriate, and I apologize. That said, I ask that we, as a board, move forward and get on with the best interest of the people of Kingston. With them in mind, thank you.
Any additional public comment?
My name is Solomon Ryan. I live at 17 Hook Ave. Well, 19 Hook Ave. Our neighbors at 21 Hook Ave got a permit to put in a septic system about a year and a half ago. We got a letter in the mail last year in November sometime that said that they were gonna demolish the house and build a new one. So we came, I brought the letter in. It was just a meeting with you guys. We just happened to be here on the same night we were gonna have a meeting. So I brought the letter in. Nothing seemed to happen, but when we had talked to the town clerk's office, they have no record of them asking for a permit for the septic system. We are on Country Pond. Our neighbors at the end have had trouble getting their septic system permits when they did their house. There's a flood area there. They have that septic system that they put in, the way it looks to us, it's, if that area floods again or gets a little bit of water going down the right of way, that septic system is underwater. Their alarm has already gone off once that they're underwater. So the concern is that we're not sure how they got the permit. It was during COVID. I don't know, it was something that was pushed through and not really looked into. We had called about, before they did the septic system, when they had all the stakes out. My husband works construction. He knows what all the lines and stuff on the stakes mean, where there's a right of way between our house and their house. And the way their slope for their septic system was gonna come down, it was gonna go into the right of way, which it does. And now that they're doing all the construction there, you can really see that the septic system is in the right of way because all of the trucks that are coming in to do their work are driving over their septic, the little septic hump that's there. So that's one issue with them. They put the dumpster for all of the debris from when they were ripping down the house, they put that in the right of way. My husband, trying to be nice, went over and said, you can't leave the dumpster there, it's in the right of way, it's town property, and it's where everybody brings their boats in and out of. The guy got all bent out of shape, said, I'm gonna call the police, my husband said, I already did, and then he left, and the police came, and the police said the dumpster needs to be moved, so they did move it, but walking through the right of way now, this was part of why we didn't want the dumpster there, is if they started to demo the house, if the dumpster stayed in that spot, glass and nails and stuff are gonna go in there. There's a bunch of kids in the neighborhood that walk barefoot, they walk down, they go fishing, they, throw rocks in the lake, whatever. Big pieces of glass are already in the right of way. So they demoed the house and they put what I refer to as a silk log, because I'm not really sure what it is, it's not really a fence, it's more of a log that goes across, it went across the entire right of way, so they blocked the access. Jess, and I don't know what his last name is. Jess called today and said he was going to have them move this and make sure it wasn't there anymore. There is a stake, or there was, because that got removed as well. There was a stake there that said do not remove, so I don't know if, because we did get a hold of the state about the septic system. So I don't know if there's any remediation that needs to be done. My husband thinks that stake is so that they can put some kind of like a stone area so that when they have the runoff water, that was going right into the lake. If that was going to be a stone area so that would prevent some of that from happening. The other issue is just how close they are to the water. So their old house was, the deck on it was pretty much over the water. It's been there for years. It was a little shack, kind of. So the deck was kind of over the water, but now with, ripping down the whole house, there's no foundation or anything. But it looks like it's only about 8 to 10 feet off the water, if that. So it's right on the water. So those are concerns we have there. Some things we can't stop at this point. We understand that. The septic system's already in. I don't think it was done properly or with the correct permits. That silk log thing hasn't been moved. My issue is I want to know that they understand that right away, the public right away, is town property, it is not theirs. I want to know that they understand that it is not their driveway. It can be part of the entrance so that they can get into their driveway, but that property is not going to become theirs. So my husband's family has owned this piece of property for 54 years. We've been in there full time for the last almost 16 years. These guys, so we got the letter saying we have to let the abutters know that this is happening. We're on one side, they own the house on the other side. So we are the only abutters. We said something, nothing happened. We didn't really push it, and then as we saw nothing's happening, I'm here. So we know there's some things that we can't stop. We know we can't stop the construction, but again, when we built our house, we were told it had to be 75 feet back. We're at least 75 feet back. They did the same thing that we did. We ripped down the old house that was there, they ripped down the old house that was there. Their house is 10 feet from the water. Not sure how that passed, how that happened. And if you look at this, and I don't care if their basement floods, that's their own fault, but the grade of their basement or their crawl space is pretty much right with the water. That water goes up a couple feet, which it does, it probably comes back. We've actually seen this water across the street. So the Mother's Day flood we had many years ago, that water went right across the street. The people on the other side of the street could kayak to the lake. So that's gonna flood, not my problem, their house floods anyways. That's their issue. So I guess my biggest thing is I just want to make sure that they know it's a town right away, it is not their driveway, and they cannot block access in there, especially now. They are there seasonally. They don't know how often people use that. They're not there even all summer. They come and go. They don't understand how many people are backing their boats and stuff into that water. We've always maintained that. My husband will get stoned from work and make it so that it's not like this. We don't, we don't charge for that. We don't say it in the neighborhood because everybody wants to chip in. We all use it. He does that because he wants to make sure that we can get in and out okay. the way it is right now, they've already made ruts in it. So I want to know that when they're done with construction, they're going to regrade that right away so that it is back to the way it was, so that it's nice and smooth, so we don't have issues.
All right, well, I would caution the board not to dive too much into discussion on this tonight since it came up on public comment. This is something I think we should refer to our code enforcement officer to review property files, see what was taken out for any type of permits, to have him go and check it out and see if there are any code enforcement type violations, and I think we should put it on the agenda once we hear back from code enforcement, and then we can also invite the subject property, we can invite them in to come and speak to any of the issues that have been brought up, and it's not something that would be publicly noticed, so if you just kept an eye out for the agendas, if you see that come up, that may be another opportunity for you to come in and speak on the matter.
Do we know about how long that would be? And how often, this is the first time I've ever come to one of these, so is this something that's once a month, is it once a quarter, with how?
That would be nice.
I mean, I don't know, I mean, I know you guys have meetings on your own separately, but how often is there?
I mean, it's the amount of time that they have to review the file.
Yep.
They have to go out, they have an opportunity to speak with them, see the property, report back to the board, have the board say, okay, yeah, there are some issues going on here that we think it's appropriate to set a time and space for me. I can't give you an estimated time.
Yep.
This board meets once a week.
Okay, with the public section, with,
Yeah.
okay. Sorry.
I would anticipate it would at least take a couple weeks before you'd have any idea of when we could, and obviously we want to address it quickly, because, not looking to delay it, but we just need to get some data before we want to bring people in and ask some pointed questions and make sure that code enforcement has done some follow-up.
Okay, and where do I find that will be on the agenda, just online on the town page?
Yeah, on the town website, we post all the agendas ahead of time. Susan, what day do you usually post them for the following week?
Thursday afternoon or Friday morning for the Monday.
Okay.
Couldn't we legislate know if we do bring it up and give her a heads up, it's gonna be on here, so she's not scrolling through and misses it?
If you send me an email, then I'll have your email address, I can let you know.
Okay.
It's
your email?
admin, ADMIN, @KingstonNH.org.
At Kingston?
NH.org. NH for New Hampshire. Yep.
Where's the address?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Have is the enforcement issue there at 19.
I didn't, just your address. Okay.
And your last name?
During like DER. It's really not bad, it's MAUELIAN.
Okay, thank you. Any other public comment? All right, close public comment. Committee liaison reports.
Budget committee actually is meeting tonight also, for their annual meeting to recap the budget committee season. Normally, if there were new people, this would be the time to get the introduction, for the new people, and review the minutes of the last meeting, so they can officially close out their year. Fire department, there's nothing new other than some additional repairs that need to be done to engine 3, which we said another $1,500. Insurance here, so that's it.
The solid waste task force met, and all I'll say is they're a spirited bunch and they're really digging into it because it's going to become a problem. The DPW director already mentioned to us that he sees an $85,000, at least $50,000 shortfall in the budget. So we're going to have to address that sometime soon. But the solid waste task force is definitely looking at ways to educate the voters and get that cost down. And Kingston Day is on Thursday, and looking to have a good show for Kingston Days, which will be in September this year.
Let's see. Historic District Commission met last week. They had that was their first meeting since the election, so they had reorganization of the board. The chair and vice chair remain the same, so Susan Prescott is chair and Virginia Morris is vice chair. A public service announcement, that board is still looking for, they're short one full regular member, and they have no alternates at this point. So as is the case with many boards and committees in town, they're in need of help. And so I know there's a list of those on the website, but I thought I would just mention it. And if anybody's interested, it's not an elected position, so those appointments are done by the select board, and anyone who's interested should contact the select board office and let them know. Let's see, what else? I spoke with Paula today. I think I might have mentioned at our last meeting that the museum committee, there's an issue with the phone and how it ties in with the alarm system and possibly filling up the voicemail box and all, anyway. So we made a little progress on it today, and Paula's working on it, and so that's in process. Did I have anything else? Oh, Historic District Commission also had a question about digitizing records and wanted to know the process for getting that done, and I mentioned it to Susan earlier, and she told me that it's just a matter of whoever has the records bringing them into Susan, and then they'll get into queue to get them digitized. So I think that's all I had for liaison reporting.
Okay. The Kingston Planning Board has a pretty extensive meeting on the agenda for tomorrow night. There's a lot of plans on there that I know seem to have been of public concern, so I think we'll have some busy ones there. We did receive, they will be discussing a letter they received from an attorney's office, I believe representing one of the abutters to one of the proposed projects. They're indicating that they feel there may be some conflict between the new zoning change that was voted in, as well as the timing of the application. So I think the board's going to have to discuss that, and I anticipate it'll have to be sent to legal for review, because there was some stuff going on with that plan prior to the zoning changes, and I think we're going to have to get a legal's opinion on that, but I'll report back. I'll probably email that out to folks. I'll probably just send an email update to Susan after the meeting, so we can at least know what's going on, and I might just get a consensus to get it over to legal, because I think that one's going to be pretty involved.
You're gonna do it tomorrow?
Yeah, after the meeting, I'll send an email to Susan, just so during the week we can maybe get a consensus to get it right out to legal. That's all I have for liaison reports right now. Old business. Does anyone have old business?
At what point did you want me to mention the issue regarding the plantings at...
I think that's old business.
That's old business? Okay. The board had a question, I believe, at our last meeting regarding the self-storage facility up near Marshall Road in 125. There was a question raised about the status of planting of the required trees for the site plan approval. I had offered to follow up with the planning board office because I was in the process of doing the administrator's review, and so Chris would have done it.
Yep.
But I offered to since I was going to be there, so I followed up with Robin and with Glenn Greenwood, and found out that in fact there were at least two extensions to the time deadline, and the last one has come and gone. It was finished up late last year was the end of the last deadline. So the site is currently not in compliance, and Glenn Greenwood is in the process of speaking with the property owner to move that along, see where it is. It's going to need to go back into the planning board's hands to see how they want to handle it. But if they're going to be doing the planting of trees, they really need to be doing it now, because the season is here, the soil is moist, and if it goes much past May, the risk to those trees not surviving is very great. So timeliness would be an issue there. I also wanted to mention, and I told Chris I would bring this up, that it's amazing how when you're in a world that we're in here, all kinds of things tend to come to your telephone about, what's going on here? What's happening here? Well, I've received a few of those, and one of them happened to be with regard to the lighting, the exterior of the lighting, the wall packs on the sides of the building at the self-storage facility. So I personally believe that the way I understand the lighting ordinance, that those do not comply with the down shielding requirement, and that was the issue when I was contacted about it by residents, and so as the enforcing body, I'm going to ask that we request, as a board, request that our code enforcement officer check that against the ordinance and report back to us before we do anything else.
We're talking the same facility.
Same facility. Yeah, and I think that, so if we can forward that, if the board's okay with that, I think we should forward that to code enforcement. Obviously, in this situation, our town electrical inspector can't go up and review that. Wouldn't be appropriate for him to review since he was the one that conducted the work for that particular site. So it's gonna have to be code enforcement is gonna have to take a review of that and help us make a determination whether or not. And then I would say that's gonna be a report back to the planning board as well to see if they wanna, could that be compliance with the site plan, correct?
It would be,
But it's also a lighting ordinance issue.
but it's also a possible enforcement issue, which maybe it goes to the planning board first, and then if they feel that enforcement is needed, they can bring it back to you.
Could I just ask, how does it work for them to get the occupancy permit? Shouldn't have been brought up originally at the very beginning, not after the fact? Because it was put in when they were given the occupancy permit.
I think it was signed off on by the town, but now there's been numerous resident or citizen complaints about the lighting, and they're concerned that it doesn't meet the dark sky compliance intent and requirements for the fixtures.
The most recent request that came to me from a resident was someone who was driving either north or south on 125, I don't remember which. And because the lights shine out from the building instead of down, when you're coming up 125 and you're coming up toward it and the road curves, some of those lights are sort of coming at you. And they were concerned about it from a safety perspective, thinking that it almost looked like the lights from oncoming vehicles or something to that effect. So.
So I mean, I think code enforcement should at least take a look at it and make a determination or offer an opinion.
And, not to make excuses for the town, but we didn't have a full-time code enforcement person at the time that site came into existence. So it would have fallen onto the building inspector at the time, who would have checked it, and any of the various inspectors who might have been involved. So, but we now have one person who's responsible for a lot of that stuff, so I think it's worth having.
I think have a look at it, yes.
Okay. Any other old business? New business. We have accept unanticipated funds, $1,000 from Pollinator Project to Conservation Commission. See notes in packet. So this email came from Heavy Nathan. If the Board of Selectmen need to know what it's for, the grant from the Pollination Project, Pollinator Garden Stepping Stones Kit, through the Pathways, the subcommittee of KCC to distribute 5 kits to each of the 13 towns, planting 65 pollinator gardens to add to the 5 seed libraries of Rockingham County. There are also 2 school projects that will receive the kits, including the Sanborn Regional High School. So sounds like finance has received the check. We just need to be authorized to deposit.
I'll make a motion to accept the unanticipated revenue of $1,000 from the Pollinator Project, and that money to be deposited into the Conservation Fund.
So second. Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous? Any other new business? Okay. Now going to board business. We still have, I thought this was on here last time, the reappointments to.
Yeah, I just didn't have the forms, you already agreed to reappoint.
Okay, so we just need to sign off the forms that are in. Okay, so we don't need to do that. We did have another appointment in here to the Recreation Committee for Shannon LaValley. for a term of 3 years to expire March 31st, 2007. So that's in here for the board to sign as well.
Is that person here?
No, she's not.
Okay.
Then let's see, the MS 232 report of appropriations. So we just have to sign that. We already voted on that one as well. We're just filling
Yeah, it's
our name and title and signature on those blocks. I wasn't sure if anything else had to be filled in. Okay. So unless anyone has any issues with that, we can all fill that out. We've already taken care of the health officer appointment. Public comment number 2. Fire chief, really? Nothing? All right, correspondence, applications, purchase orders. We have a couple of field use applications. One of them was just pending. They did some date and time changes on the Sanborn Baseball and Softball Association. So they did some changes going from April 17th to December 31st. And they're asking, let's see. It says between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday, and baseball and softball games between 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Saturday through, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday through Sunday. So if there's no question on that, I think they were just looking for approval on that. I know.
Where's that what field?
This is going to be Magnuson Fields. And so, I know the Public Works Director is here. We got those fields are good to go now. I know there was a tree removal issue that you guys were working on too.
Yeah, they haven't been repaired,
Yeah, they've been turned and stuff like that. And I know they're still planning on doing their field cleanup day.
Did you say the duck league or the?
No, this is the Sanborn Baseball Softball Association one. Let's see a signature block for this one. There we go. We have a spiked flag football league. Looks like this is the field at the old fairgrounds on Fallbrook Terrace. They are looking for permission to use the fields April, the date I can't read, to June 30th. So I might say April 1st to June 30th, but I can't be sure. Between the hours of 4:30 p.m. and 6 p.m. For flag football practices, Mondays and Wednesdays, and then Monday through Thursday per week, depending on teams' availability. And so this is so I can't tell if is this a couple different fields that they're looking access to? That's the old fairgrounds as well. So this is the spiked flag football, youth flag football, 12U team, made up of kids from Kingston and Newton. 1 to 2 times a week, 4:30 p.m. till 6 p.m. Attempting Monday through Thursday, practices April 1st or April 10th through June 30th. Do we know
If I can ask the DPW director, isn't that always supposed to be coordinated through recreation so that we don't double book the fields or anything?
Paul is the first,
So we did submit.
yeah, and then he's been distributing them to the departments.
Okay, yeah, it looks like we got to sign off with the chief of police, the road agent, and the fire chief on here, and I'm assuming that since it came through our recreation director, that there shouldn't be any conflicts. They provided their liability insurance as to the previous application. So, does anyone have any issues with this? No. Okay, so let's hear for everyone to sign. I have a couple other appointments in here. Oh, this is the fire. These are just the ones we had to sign off on.
All the fire station.
So we'll get those signed. And planning board current plans.
Well, I had that stack and they got put in a box, I think.
Okay, so,
Floating around just
for any of the planning board members, there are stacked some of the current plans going forward. There are going to be some pretty voluminous ones. They're big files.
They were here last week and.
Yeah. Looks like we do have another application for facilities use. Looks like it's use of the planes. There is a comment here on fees. non-Kingston, non-profit, for-profit.
She wants to do yoga classes on the plains, and our fees are like $1,500 or something for a day. So I don't know if you can talk to Phil and see if it's a use that you can agree to, but then I don't know about those, that's kind of prohibitive for something like that, I would think.
Have you seen this one yet, the application for this one?
What's that, the yoga thing?
Yeah, the yoga thing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay, never mind, you're signed off on that page, I didn't see on that one.
How many days are looking for?
So it looks like on the plains, a Friday night or Sunday afternoon, anytime, June through August, whatever fits your schedule. We would love one date a month for yoga classes. There will be no work for the town, no power, trash, cleanup, or opening of bandstand. There may be a total of 20 participants.
I think Bill wanted to comment on the parking, like that you would suggest they kept it on this end of the plains and then the parking.
Can you identify where in the plains?
I think they wanted it anywhere on the plains, but I think.
Yeah, so I kind of guided them to this spot right here so that they could utilize the town hall for parking as it's after hours. We've had these proposals put in front of us, and I guess the question for the board is whether we want to allow someone to run their business on our property with no benefit to the town. I understand it's a low impact use, but it's also someone's making money on town property. So it would be my recommendation, as we have a fee schedule for that, that be applied in this instance.
And so yes, I guess it probably would be cost prohibitive for them as the use of the plains fees for a non-Kingston nonprofit. It's $1,500 per day, is that correct? And $2,500 a day for a for-profit business.
And understanding that fee schedule obviously is put in place as certain things that come up. That price specifically was for someone having a craft fair of multiple vendors over multiple parts of the plains, but maybe some nominal fee, just so this doesn't become a free-for-all with people not getting the appropriate. Certainly my hat's off to them for them putting in the paperwork and submitting insurance as they properly should, but I also think space is a premium.
Yeah.
I would think that some fee would be appropriate for a for-profit activity. Maybe not to that level.
Yeah, no, that's a little excessive.
Given that it's going to take up a fairly big area, and if we were to do something like this, I hope that with your guidance, Phil, we could limit where they go on the plane so that it isn't, changing all the time, and so that the town could expect where they're going to be and how much space they're taking up.
Yeah, given that parking is already an issue, I felt that this end of the plains, utilizing this parking lot would be no interruption to current activities, so.
How, would the board be okay, or would you feel comfortable if you and the recreation department director maybe came up with an estimated fee schedule for something low impact like this, where we can control and contain it, and come up with something that you think is appropriate, and then the board can take a vote on that? I mean, this one, I don't think we're in a rush to get it done tonight. It'd be nice to come up with that, but I think we can come up with something of much less money.
Yeah, it sounds like and I really know a public no issue, she's not giving us any dates either, and she's leaving it open-ended. If she wants to try it once and see what's right,
I think this person has tried it more than once in the past and has been advised that they need to submit insurance and run it by the town conducting their business on our property.
So yeah, I think it would be more appropriate that maybe she submit a range of, if she says we would love one date a month, I think it'd be better if she just picked a few days and we could make sure they don't conflict and they're available, and then knowing exactly how many events are going to be, I think it's much easier to come up with an appropriate, determine a fee for that. So will this be more appropriate to send back to Paul?
I don't, so I can ask her to appoint the dates and let her know we're looking at the fee schedule.
All right. Is the rest of the board comfortable with that? Yes. Let's see.
Chris, before you go any further, this folder has a lot of POs that I think we held off from last time.
Okay. Yes, yeah, I think some of them we had.
I don't know if we need to discuss them or if we just need to somehow.
So we have one for code enforcement certification. What line did this end up coming out of, Paula? I mean, I see that you have it filled out, I just don't know what that line number
I
is.
put it, because we don't know where it's gonna come out,
Yeah.
but I put it under, inspectors training.
Okay.
But that one we didn't negative, because we weren't intending a fee.
Yeah, I know Kevin, you had suggested it came out of like a general government.
Yeah, general government fund. Okay.
So I just put a line item there, just so.
But if she took it out of seminars and training for inspectors, I think that's the appropriate thing. You could overexpend the line and just realize, you know, if anything else comes up. I think that's where it should be for accounting purposes.
Yeah, and so for those that don't recall, this is for the code enforcement certification that our code enforcement officer is required to get by our contract with him. So the total cost of these courses and materials comes to $2,341.85.
So the 3-part test, and that's the fee for the test and all the books.
Okay. Anyone have any issues with this?
No, and I'm assuming this is an item that was required as part of the code enforcement officer's employment contract?
Correct. So if we don't provide this to him, we are essentially helping him violate his contract.
But we also want him to have the training, correct? Yes. He's going to be doing his job for us, so, yeah. Take this one, so.
The other one is we had exhaust repairs for the 1982 GMC 3500. Looks like an estimate of $1,600. We have the line item for it, current balance $35,438.87, new balance would be $33,838.87. Any questions with that? Let's see, the Smokey the Bear fire danger sign. And I see there's a line item for that. So it looks like current balance that we come out of the fire building fund, that's $182,417.89. This purchase would be $3,057.78, new balance of $179,360.19. Any issues with this? I think we discussed most of these, we just needed the line items appropriately filled out.
Yes.
This is the rear spring suspension on one of the tanker trucks that we discussed. The paramedicine program and all applicable fees, we already discussed this one as well. This will come out of the ambulance fund. The total cost of this is $11,750. And this one is pest control for ants, for a ant problem at the PD. So this would go for 12 monthly one-time fees of $275, or one-time fee of $275 and a monthly fee $77. So for the year, it would cost $1,122. Current line has $34,000. This purchase $1,122. New balance $32,878. Any issues with the ant control?
Question on that, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Yeah, this probably falls on the facilities.
Well, no, it doesn't. Okay, and that's kind of my question. The previous health officer had control of that line item, and we would just send things and he would sign off on it. But typically, short of the mosquito control, which we're slightly involved in, but all of the town buildings, the scheduling with the exterminator, all the beaver removal and trapping, all that is run through our department. So, I'd just like to bring that to your attention at this time, that so pretty much 87% of that runs through us, and then someone else is signing off on it. It would be my recommendation or proposal that we handle that moving forward, and then as the next budget season comes up, that line will move over to buildings and grounds.
Where is this line currently? It's just under the health officer?
It's under the health line item.
It's under mosquito, pest control,
Okay.
health officer.
Okay.
It was moved there last year from DPW.
Well, some of it wasn't it? Wasn't it?
No, we moved the whole thing.
Okay. Does anyone oppose moving it back to
It doesn't need to be moved, I think you can appoint, they can appoint me a signatory authority on that. And I mean, that's all.
The only issue I see, someone's gonna look over, because if we're doing it for one building, and then if, the library needs it, and they call you, and we already have a contract with someone,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, so even this, if the board thinks it would be more appropriate for Public Works to be signing off on this to coordinate any other pest control that has to happen, I would have no problem, remanding this back to Director of Public Works to review, to coordinate in case there's anything else that needed to happen.
So I did research that, and the only contract we have with Pest End is for recreation, it's the same contract, just for the recreation.
And did that came out of this line as well?
So that's in addition to, and then that was the only contract.
But I think you're right, it makes more sense that one person coordinate those type of contracts for the entire town, because...
Well, they need to get into the buildings to do their work, and so we're invariably involved in the entire process other than the signing of it.
and do we only have ants at 2 buildings?
Well, I mean, the other issue is that,
Those are the only 2 that we've gotten billed for.
well, there might be other pest issues too around town buildings, and so, at some point, if there was one point of contact, one focus point, it might mean, negotiating a contract with someone for...
Because I know there's been issues in this building, and, so it's like, but rather than haphazardly go across, it might be more beneficial to us to sign on with a contract, and they cover all the buildings as needed. So,
They moved back, I don't know why it got moved to health officer.
So I would recommend we push this back to the chief, let him, and send out to all the department heads that anything for contracted pest control services should be done through Director of Public Works, and have him resubmit this to you so you can find out if there's any other issues, because we may need to enter into a larger contract if there's more issues.
Is there a critical thing that we should sign off on this one now to get it going?
Well, I didn't see him walking down the street with the PD.
They have been complaining about ant problems for a couple of weeks.
Well, I'm just wondering, maybe it would be expeditious for us to deal with this one now and then going forward.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that up as a matter of information, just given, you have a new person coming on, it's going to be something that has to be figured out. So I would advocate for moving forward with that, and we can kind of sort it out, and just want to put it in front of you for your consideration, that's all.
And I'd have no issue signing it, as long as, but I would say we still need to put out to the department heads, and moving anything forward needs to be coordinated with Phil.
Yeah.
Agreed. Okay. That's all I have in there. Thankfully.
Did you see my note about, there's an email from the real Ingles? So affects
Did we have that on the file?
Yeah, there's it.
About cleaning up that.
Okay. Kingston Select Board, from the President of the Kingston Lake Association, Muriel Ingalls, cleanup of the Kingston State Park, May 13th, April 11th, 2023. Several years ago, the New Hampshire Department of Parks and Recreation announced an Adopt a Park program. Kingston Lake Association made a commitment at that time to help with the initial cleanup of the Kingston State Park. We have volunteers, many hours to raking and picking up of leaves, limbs, and other debris to help make the park ready for a new season. We focus our attention on the picnic area and in front of the beach. We never know how much help we will get. It would be very helpful to our volunteers if some of the highway department resources were available on Saturday, May 13th from 9 to 11. Most helpful to us would be a small dump truck and tractor. Kingston Lake Association also provides the dog receptacle waste station, which we maintain each week. I mention this because the KLA is a small organization with volunteers who are doing their best to care for the Kingston Lake. Thank you for taking your time to consider this request. Any input from Public Works? I feel like your plate gets fuller every day.
So I asked that this be submitted to the board because it will entail overtime and obviously working on state property. So wanted the board's approval on that. The upside of this is obviously it helps the Kingston Lake Association out, who's been a great partner for us. But also this would count as one of our MS4 stormwater requirements. This would count as an event, that's, something we had done as an outreach thing, and so it kind of checked 2 blocks for us. I certainly...
Can you absorb any of the additional overtime?
Yeah, we have money for it, but I just wanted to seek out the board's approval on this one before I committed to it.
We're not looking for the full department to be there, but a couple of guys.
It'll be 2 people.
Yeah.
The 1 ton and the backhoe. Maybe one of the other dump trucks instead, depending on how, I can't imagine it's gonna be ginormous piles of debris. So. And the state doesn't like to do anything anymore, so it falls on us.
Why would they if they could pass it on?
What's the board's pleasure? Do we want to move this as a motion, or do we just want to have consensus that we authorize the public
consensus?
I'm fine with it. Okay. I'm fine.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So did you want to talk about the Great Pond Park?
Yes.
Thing while you're sitting right there? This is also, there's a,
That's correct.
yeah.
This was a last minute thing, but just wanted to, in Great Pond Park, there is community property that is owned. It has a clubhouse of sorts. I believe there's a boat launch down there and a small beach. They do pay taxes on that. It is in a residential property. In the past, they've just taken their trash from that area, put it out curbside, and that was picked up. Obviously, that doesn't take place anymore, so they're requesting a barrel for trash removal. They did not receive a recycling bin in the past, but there is no residence on the property, and it would be a seasonal thing. But again, as a state, I believe it's valued at $94,000 or something, so they are paying taxes on the property. But
90,800 looks like for the parcel total.
This would beg, I think, into Ridgewood Association as well. They always picked up the trash was always picked up in the past, but that's not going to be done this year unless we do something. So the board needs to consider that as well. It's seasonal, but over at Great Pond, they all pay taxes, even the seasonal rate.
it would be my recommendation that we issue them a temporary barrel for the season, and it's turned in at the end of the season at no fee. And then that way it's not sitting there for tempting anyone to utilize it, and that would minimize, it's not going to be a huge impact, but it'd keep the area clean.
Okay. Would you feel the same about Ridgewood, the large beach and the small beach, 1 trash barrel temporary?
Yeah, if you guys are fine with it, I'll give that whatever you want.
Just a question. I know that the waste management rules are that in the trash bins, everything has to be in bags. Can't be just tossed individual items. It can't be used like you can't just toss stuff in it like if you're at a park or something and you.
And I think that's the other side of it, is if it's our barrel and they're not complying with those rules, then it comes back to being our barrel.
Okay. And I'd support that on a seasonal basis.
Let me ask you your opinion. With that being said, and after going through the solid waste committee and hearing the trials and tribulation of weight in recyclables, would it behoove us to give them a recycle container as
So,
well?
just for the board's knowledge, for the gentleman who was in here earlier, we do not have recycling bins.
Okay.
That is a waste management issue, and that needs to be paid to them when gone through the town clerk, someone pays. So, the recycling bins we do not have on hand. But the trash cans, since they left them there for a while, I technically acquired a couple of them for our usage.
We paint
But that's really the only thing that and waste management was on board with that, as people get trash cans destroyed, stolen, whatever, we can issue those out in hopes that they're returned. But we're talking to them about getting recycling bins, and just for that same purpose, that we would stencil up with KPW and they would be temporarily issued. But as of right now, there's no provisions for that in the contract. There's no mechanism for that to take place, but it is something we're working on. But recycling costs too much money, so we should just throw it away.
Could we just ask you to coordinate as best for the town's best interest with those two entities, but give them strict guidelines, and it's only temporary, and that they have to bag the trash, you can't just throw stuff in there if
Any temporary barrels that we issue they sign a contract, there's a set timeline, when they need to return it, they come and pick it up, there's no town resources spent bringing them out unless someone is a hardship situation where they can't come out and get the barrel, but we lay out pretty explicit guidelines when we won't know the barrel.
But just so they know, you can't just throw a beer can. Yep. It has to be in a bag.
Well, there'll be a responsible party who will sign for it, and that will be explained to them. What happens further downstream is what happens.
And if it's not being used appropriately, we can reclaim it.
Correct. Take away the privilege, and that is in every one that we go out has that stipulation in there.
One more question from me. I'm assuming that this is on the roof of one of the waste management trucks, so they'll just add that to their...
Correct. Yep. Yeah, neither of those two would be any hardship for them to pick up.
Do we have to notify them if we do that, so that they make sure that...
We have pretty good communication with the drivers, so if they have any question on it, but they know if it's got the lettering on it, they'll be in odd places at odd times, so.
Yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward with both organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see, we're gonna go into non-public for some personnel evaluations, but first we still have meeting minutes to approve from April 3rd that we didn't do last meeting, as well as we have meeting minutes from April 10th that we need to approve.
Motion to approve the April 10th and public and non-public.
Second. Discussion?
Actually, I did have one correction now, I thought.
Yep, that would need to be corrected, and this is non-public, so let's just...
For the non-public. Oh. Whoopsie do, yeah, oops, I fixed that.
So approve as amended.
Second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. I do just have to address one request that was made to unseal one section of public meeting minutes. I did review, of non-public meeting minutes, I did review RSA 91A, and I don't think we have the ability to keep them as non-public meeting minutes. So I'll make the motion that we unseal that one particular set of meeting minutes that was discussed in the earlier meeting at the request of the individual.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Abstention? Okay.
And did we do the minutes for March 10th?
April 1st.
We just did April 10th. We did, yeah, we did.
Together? Okay, I didn't hear that.
Yeah. Any other business before we go into non-public for personnel evaluations? Okay. I would take a motion to move into non-public per RSA 91A 3(2)A personnel. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? I'll take a roll call vote. So,
Yes.
Yes.
all right, I'm a yes. Okay, thank